Oh, it's time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. I am Gino Bacola alongside my good friend Scott Shapiro, and we've got a little bounce in our step today because it is time for the Breeders' Cup. A couple of the biggest days in all of horse racing are happening on Friday and Saturday this weekend. But for the purposes of this show, we're going to preview some of the big races on Breeders' Cup Saturday. Scott, we've been looking at these races. We know these horses. We've been doing the work for really months to get ready for these couple days. How you feeling?
Feeling good. We've been talking about these races all week long, so it's exciting that they actually run them. You feel like at some point you're just going to be talking about them forever, but when they actually run those minute and a half, 2 minutes are awesome, and looking forward to hopefully making some money and maybe helping some others.
We're going to preview 5 individual races, and then we're going to share some of our best bets throughout the day with you in the final segment. But before we get into the Breeders' Cup Classic preview, I know this is the type of day where there's a lot of new fans. I know for me, I'll have a lot of people text me and call me on Breeders' Cup, like the Kentucky Derby, and ask for a couple picks. DRF Newbie is a great tool and a great resource. If you are one of those people who you like to play the races, but you're not the most hardcore racing fan yet, maybe the racing form is a little bit scary for you when you see all the numbers all over, check out DRF Newbie. Horse racing made simple, newbie.drf.com, and use your mobile device. Let's get into the Breeders' Cup Classic, Scott. This is going to go as race number 9 on Saturday. We have a really good field, even with the scratch of Sovereignty. Generally, you're going to take a horse like Sovereignty out of the race, the Derby winner. It's going to feel a little lackluster, but we still have the top 3 finishers from last year's Breeders' Cup. We've got a couple really nice 3-year-olds that are stepping forward. Horse like Antiquarian's coming off of a nice win. And there's a lot of directions you can go in this one, Scott. So let's start things out from the inside with Fierceness. He drew the inside at Del Mar a couple months back in the Pacific Classic. He almost ducked into the gap right at the inside right after the start of the race. He still recovered well, and he's able to beat Journalism. He handles him here pretty well. And 2 of Fierceness's best races in his whole career have been at Del Mar.
That bodes well for him, the fact that he likes it at Del Mar, which can be a little tricky. Us humans almost all like it in the marine climate, but some of the horses do not. He's going to be a short price. We know his best is as good as anyone, if not better than anyone in this field. I maybe would argue Forever Young's best in the Saudi Cup was the best race anyone's ran. But at a short price, he's a little bit too tricky for me along the inside to get excited about wagering on. But it's hard to think that he's not going to be in the mix.
Yeah, there's like a 4 or 5 group of horses that are in that top tier. He's in there, but you just have to wonder based on price, is he going to offer us any value in here? I don't know if he will anymore. Let's move to Baeza, Scott, up-and-coming 3-year-old, won the Pennsylvania Derby. He was in the shadow of Journalism and Sovereignty throughout a lot of the year, but he's certainly not far behind them, and he's one of those peaking horses at the right time.
He is, and I have questions about some of the top horses in this field on the morning line and in terms of, their resume, if they are coming into this race set for their best. I don't know if Baeza is good enough. He hasn't really finished ahead of anybody close to good enough to win this race, but I think pretty confidently he's coming in set for his best in this race, and he should get a good trip for a guy that does know how to win this race in John Sheriffs.
When you talk about 3-year-olds moving forward, another one is Nevada Beach. He's 20-1 on the morning line, but you can see his progression each and every race. Distance shouldn't be a problem for him, Scott. I just think it was a good field for him to get that big win because there were some horses in there like Full Serrano who didn't want to go that far. First Mission was kind of beyond some of his best. So I think that was a good spot. This is another big step up, but hey, the horse is definitely trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if he continues to move forward in this race and outruns his odds. It's just a really big ask to go from the races that he's in, not only just the quality, but the size of the field. This is just a new thing to him. So he's very lightly raced for a horse in this spot.
The number 4 is Contrary Thinking. He's what's known as a rabbit in the world of horse racing. He's in this race because his stablemate, Sierra Leone, is a horse who comes from off the pace and is a closer. And Sierra Leone needs a little bit of pace to run at. So Contrary Thinking goes out there, Scott, not really trying to win the race. He goes out there just trying to set an honest pace, making sure that Sierra Leone can have some speed to run at in here. So he's not a horse that we really kind of judge from his chances to win. He's just kind of in here to help his buddy.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just relate it to everybody. You made a real good talking points about the horse. Somebody spent $280,000 for this horse to be a rabbit. So just, when you think some money, Peter Brandt had a lot of success in this game and in the world, just kind of messing around, but an interesting thing to think about.
Forever Young is a world-class horse, Scott. He's been in some of the biggest races all around the world, and he's going to come into this race making his second start back off a bit of a break. We saw him third in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year. He was third in the Kentucky Derby last year. He is just a really cool, versatile horse. I think you can put him in the race early. He can sit mid-pack. He can come from off the pace. He can win in different ways. And I feel like he's probably going to be one of these horses now that's in that like 3-1, 7-2 range. We might have 3 or 4 of them all kind of similar prices.
He has as good a chance as anyone, and I would argue, and I already did on this in this segment, that his best might be the best we've seen from anybody in this race, 3 back in the Saudi Cup. My one concern with him now at even shorter price is that we might have left a little bit of it on the track there. He's been good since then. Horses generally take time to get back to their best when they run that huge. Some of them never get back to it, and I think he's got to get back close to that race to win here.
And we move along to where Sovereignty would have been the number 6. He's going to be out, so we skip Sovereignty and move to Sierra Leone, last year's Breeders' Cup Classic winner. You kind of know what you're going to get with him, Scott. He's a horse who's going to drop back. He's going to make one late run. He does not have a lot of early speed. What was really impressive in his win in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year, jockey Flavien Prat was able to ask him to move much earlier than he normally does. So Sierra Leone was actually striking the front at the top of the lane instead of late in the stretch like you see from him in normal circumstances. It was a really heady ride moving into a fast pace, and it was almost like he caught everybody like in a blind switch almost at that moment. Sierra Leone will come rolling after a disappointing start to the year. He's put together a couple really nice races.
He has, and this was a horse I was very high on. In fact, I picked him in races before the Kentucky Derby and the Derby, and he kind of let me down in races after that on not finishing the deal. And what I hate to knock a horse that's made $7 million and is running for another $7 million lion's share here, but this horse needs a setup. That's why he has a rabbit in the race, his stablemate. He needs every bit of that. He got it last year. I don't know if he's going to get the same setup this year. I'm against him.
The number 8 is Mindframe. And if we were previewing this race in like early August, Mindframe might have been the favorite or one of the favorites in here, especially if Sovereignty was not in the race. But the last time we saw Mindframe, Scott, he was in a race where he lost the rider. There was an incident in there. He didn't finish the race. So we actually haven't seen him cross the wire since the end of June. That's the big concern with him. It's not talent. It's certainly not ability. It's just he has that lack of recency, and he's going to be facing the toughest field he's ever faced in his career.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback because I agree with all you're saying. So it comes down to me is what price are you willing to take on the gamble? To me, he's going to be shorter than I would be willing to take with those questions. You need horses, in my opinion, to be fit, have everything go right coming in these big races, and that's just not the case with this horse.
Journalism has been in a lot of the big fights this year. He's going to get a new rider. Jose Ortiz will jump aboard. Journalism comes off of a second-place finish behind Fierceness. How do you think about Journalism's chances this weekend?
Man, I love this horse. I have from the get-go. He was good to me, then he wasn't, then he was. I think he's up against it. He just hasn't continued to move forward like some of the others in here. If I'm going to lose my money, though, I hope it's to Journalism.
And then rounding things out, Scott, is a horse that you like a little bit, Antiquarian, who's coming off of back-to-back really big efforts. I mean, you isolate his 2025. It's been very good. He hasn't run a bad race. And overall in his career, he doesn't have many poor efforts.
No, and he's getting better as the distances go longer. Doesn't quite have that eye-catching win that his stablemates do or that big number, but just a steady progression. He gets to move in one post. He should get a good trip. He won the last race with a rabbit with a Jockey Club Gold Cup, which is a little bit of a different kind of race to run for both the jockey and the horse when they separate so much. So I think Antiquarian gets overlooked here, and I don't quite understand it other than maybe just name or brand value.
We'll move to selections, and it's kind of crazy, Scott, how things have changed. Only one of the horses in this race had a race in October, and 7 of them last raced in August. They're just skipping their final preps now. We really don't have those preps anymore. How'd you stack them up in the Classic?
It's Antiquarian for me. I thought he was going to be my value play. I thought this was Sovereignty and everybody else. Now I think it's everybody else. They're tightly knit. I like Antiquarian, but I understand who you like.
Yeah, Forever Young for me on top. Forever Young Mindframe. We'll figure out what the price is going to be on him. And then behind them, Sierra Leone and Fierceness. Don't go anywhere. We still got a lot of ground to cover on Breeders' Cup Saturday. One of the big races on Saturday is the Breeders' Cup Distaff. That's going to go as race number 7. It's the championship race for the fillies and the mares, the best of the older gals. Before we preview this race, we want to let you all know about the DRF Players Guide. It is a free Breeders' Cup betting guide, and you can scan the QR code right on your screen, or you can go to shop.drf.com. You can check that thing out, but it's so easy when you scan the QR code there. It'll give you selections, analysis, a bunch of free information from the DRF staff. This will help you when you're making your wagers this weekend on Friday and on Saturday in particular. Let's move to the Breeders' Cup Distaff, Scott. And in this race, you know, Torpedo Anna was the horse over the last couple of years who's sort of been towards the top of the division. She's not in here now. We got a big field that we have to move through pretty quickly. So let's start things out on the inside with Nitrogen. She's been the best of the 3-year-olds. She stepped up and faced Older in the Spinster most recently, but she was behind Jinjin. She ran well that day. She was drifting out a little bit. She just feels like one of the major players in here, though, stepping up, facing the Older. She's been really consistent all year long.
You don't see a lot of horses, fillies, mares, colts, geldings be very good on both surfaces, turf and dirt. When that's a very rare sign. And she's gotten faster on dirt. She might not look as good, but she's faster. She kind of has a little quirky. I think she's got to move forward in her still here. I think she's going to be, like you said, one of the major players.
Sarawak Rim is a wild card, comes in from Argentina. We haven't seen her race since May. She'll add the blinkers, and she's won 4 of her 5 races pretty impressively. She is one of those horses who has talent, but we just don't know the type of company she's been facing.
It might be it'll be Nacho Correa's last Breeders' Cup. He's retiring, heading back to his home country. It's interesting to me that he attracts Irad Ortiz. I think this horse is up against it, but Irad was on the next horse. We'll talk about Cliquot, who I think is in with a bigger chance. So maybe she's better than I think.
Scott, you picked Cliquot on top when she won the Cotillion at 5-1 about a little over a month ago. She comes back here now. She'll step up and face Older company. You were teasing us a little bit that you like her again in this spot. Where do you think she stacks up?
I think she has a move forward in her, which is what she needs, but she probably needs 2 to win this race. She hasn't quite been fast enough to win this, but these 3-year-olds, as they blossom, these distances, as they get longer, they can make a big move forward. She'll need it, but I'm definitely using her on all my tickets.
Scylla is next. Scylla raced in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint last year. She was sprinting early in the year, and then she stretched out most recently. She's not been in the winner's circle for a while, since June of 2024 last year, but she's run a lot of pretty honest and pretty solid races in the mix, so I could use her underneath. I just don't know if I can get her to the win end.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is a mare that we've seen the best of. Very well bred. The dam was great. Great female and male, or great female family, but I think this is a little bit of a reach for her at this point of her career. Passing tiring rivals, hitting the board, I guess that's not without question. We're
going to scratch the 5 Scottish Lassie. The 6 Alizaverte comes in from Japan. She actually raced in the Distaff last year, and she was a pretty good 4th after a slow start. The problem is that the bulk of her work, Scott, is on the turf, so we really don't know how good she is on the dirt.
Yeah, you know, in that race last year, I thought was an underwhelming addition. I don't think this is the strongest Distaff ever, but I think it's definitely deeper than last year.
Yes.
Had 7 horses, passed some tired horses. I think she'll need to run better than I expect her to be a factor.
Jinjin has won 2 of her last 4 graded stakes races. Both of them, she won the Grade 1 Spinster most recently. And what's been helpful for her is just getting into the race early. They've shown more early speed with her recently. And here she is holding off Nitrogen, Scott. Do you give her a shot stepping up into the Breeders' Cup Distaff?
I think maybe she has to prove herself to me outside of Keeneland, where both of those graded stakes wins that you spoke of were. She had a favorable trip there, but I'm against the favorite in here, who we'll talk about next, and I'm hopeful she's one of the ones that makes things more difficult for Seismic Beauty.
Seismic Beauty has been really impressive. She's won 3 races by open lengths. She's earned big buyer speed figures and big speed ratings in doing them, but she hasn't really beat big fields. She hasn't had to be tested at all in any of those races. This is a huge field here, Scott. You just figure she's going to have to deal with a little more of a tough trip than she has had in these soft wins.
Yeah, soft win. She's been fast going 2 turns, just not going to be able to walk on the lead in this field like she did in the Clement L. Hirsch, a Grade 1, where she was also on a rail that was good that day at Del Mar.
Majestic Oops goes out for trainer Dan Ward. Majestic Oops comes off of a 4th place finish and just seems like an under horse, 30-1 on the morning line. I had a tough time making a case for her in here.
Right. You will see some horses cutting back like this that are sorry, strap. Yeah, I mean, I would prefer on a cutback probably. If,
Agree.
I'm looking at her, her effort. This is a cool horse. She's been around for a while. Cal bred, 32 starts, 616,000, but a reach.
And we know Dan Ward, the former assistant trainer for Jerry Hollendorfer out here in Southern California. Gun Song goes next up, another long shot. She did win the Bell Dame last time out, but she just hasn't been competitive at the highest levels against the top caliber fillies and mares.
Yeah, she does draw outside the biggest speeds in this race, but her best efforts are right when she's up on the pace. And I don't know if she's fast enough to even be there. And if she is, I don't know if she's good enough to stick around. She's up against it to me.
Horse like Dry Powder could maybe make life difficult for Seismic Beauty. Dry Powder wants to be forward. She's drawn towards the outside, so she has to be involved and try to press so she doesn't get hooked all that wide in here. Do you think she can, compete with this group?
Tough post, like you mentioned. That's the problem. This is another up-and-comer, kind of like Cliquo, maybe even more pointing arrow up because has really moved forward the last couple. But that tough post against taking on older for the first time is a factor as well.
We move to Darth Vader, and I think we might, if we have a replay of this race, I've watched it a few too many times, Scotty. She ran great, and she just gets beat here at a big price by Torpedo Anna. Just felt like she was going to win this one. And I will say all week long watching horses, if I were to make a list of like 3 to 5 horses that I thought were looking the best in the mornings, Darth Vader is one of them. I'm going to upgrade her a little bit just on what she's done in the mornings. Scott, she's solid fit in this race. She's drawn to the outside, could hook her a little bit wide, but from a class standpoint, I think she fits really well with this group.
Yeah, I expect her to be the second choice. I'm concerned about that, the money coming in. Her lone win recently came in the slop. It was a good one in the Ogden Fifth, so sealing the deal is also a factor.
Long shot rounds things out in Regaled, who is 30-1. She comes off a 6-length win at Delaware. Can you build a case for her?
Underneath, don't discount her. She continues to move forward. She's the kind of horse that can sit back, and if they go fast, pass a lot of them. And third and fourth pay very well in tries and supers in the Breeders' Cup.
She can run all day. As we move to selection, Scott, I put Darth Vader on top. This race was one of the toughest races for me to have a real strong opinion. We used some of the similar horses in the top 4. Scotty's going to go to Nitrogen with 1, 3, 12, and 13. Don't go anywhere. When we return, many more Breeders' Cup race previews for Saturday.
Think horse racing is too complicated? Think again.
And they're off!
Every pro was a newbie once. Meet DRF Newbie, the mobile tool loaded with daily racing form data and the power of DRF AI.
What a shocker!
Get the insights you need fast so you can play smarter and feel more confident. DRF Newbie, horse racing made simple. Try it free today.
For our next segment, we're going to talk about the Breeders' Cup Turf. This is going to be race number 8 on Saturday. And this one is a huge race, Scott, where you have some of the best horses around the world coming in. A lot of times the U.S.-based runners just haven't been in as strong and as deep of grass races. So this is usually a race that's won by international horses or shippers. And we can start things out with a very accomplished horse named Rebels Romance, who is a 2-time Breeders' Cup winner, but he may not even go favored in this race because there's a horse in here that's even a little classier than him right now. But Scott, it's tough to knock what this guy's done in his career.
Yeah, he's the barometer in this race. And what I'll just say to stand for all these Europeans is there's only been one non-European based horse that's won this race since 2015. It was Bricks and Mortar, who ended up being horse of the year.
Goliath is the 2 who comes off of a grade 1 win over in Germany last time out. I mean, he's pretty classy too. He's faced very good horses. He's actually defeated Rebels Romance last year back at Royal Ascot.
Yeah, it seems like he knows when to peak. Last year, he peaked at the end of the year like this. He comes in off of his best effort of the year last out of September 7th. He's won 8 of 16 and should get a good trip.
Amalok goes out for the trainer Ralph Beckett, who won the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint last year. So he certainly knows how to get horses ready for the Breeders' Cup. And this is an up-and-coming 3-year-old, Scott, who I think fits pretty well in this group if you're looking to go against the top 2 horses who do seem like they're the class of the field.
He's beaten everyone but one horse throughout his 5 or 6 race career. Hard to knock. A lot of the things I say about Goliath stand for him.
And we move on to the number 4, Redistricting, coming off a runner-up effort in the Turf Classic. He's going to have to turn the tables on Rebels Romance in here.
Yeah, I think he's a cut or two below these. I thought he was going to be a lot more of a factor last year and this year than it's turned out to be.
Rebel Red is a long shot. He's been behind El Cordobes or districting recently. I just can't make a case for him to turn the tables on them.
There's a big setup in here. I could make the case fourth or fifth, third maybe, but he raced against the flow last time in the Turf Classic, but he's at least a cut below. He does get IRAD.
3-year-old stepping up is Wimbledon Hawkeye. Will be facing older. He comes off the Nashville Derby win. What chances do you give him in here?
Big step up. That was a good race, the Nashville Derby, one of the better races we saw at Kentucky Downs. He ran well. He's got to run better.
What you see about this race, it's a lot of long shots on paper. I mean, a horse like Salawi is a grade 1 winner, just won the Canadian International, but that race doesn't really stack up with the horses at the top level in here, like Rebels Romance and Mini Hawk. Do you give this long shot a chance?
Nah, he got loose on the lead last time and held off Tawny Port, who probably ran better. I think last time was the time to bet this one when he was 10-1.
Mini Hawk is a 3-year-old filly who's raced 7 times. She has 5 wins, 2 seconds. One of the seconds was in her debut. She then won 5 straight races. She stepped up. She was favored in the Arc de Triomphe, which is one of the most prestigious races in the world. She finished second, facing older horses, facing boys in a field of 17. She, to me, is certainly the horse to beat in here and on any short list for the top contenders in this race.
Yeah, the ARC winners or the ARC horses have not done very well recently coming over. They used to do very well. I think the tide's turned this year.
We move to Gold Phoenix. Scott, what a cool horse this guy is. He's won the Del Mar Handicap 4 consecutive years. He loves the Del Mar turf course, and he's actually run 2 sneaky good races in Breeders' Cups in back-to-back years when he ran 4th and 4th against top level company. But I think it shows you the difference between the U.S.-based horses and some of the international runners, because Gold Phoenix is one of the better U.S.-based turf horses and probably the best one out on the West Coast, and he's 20-1 on the morning line in here.
And we saw him win at Santa Anita just there, the replay. He can finish, but this is a whole different level of competition.
We move to El Cordobes, comes off of the 3rd in the Turf Classic after winning the Sword Dancer, but he's drawn towards the outside for Charles Appleby.
He's another one that didn't have things his way in the Turf Classic. He did have a good trip here, too, back in the Sword Dancer when he got the job done. Tough post.
Roshbar comes off of a 4th over at Longchamp. Roshbar just hasn't been in win form all of this year. He's 0 for his last 6. What do you think about him?
He's 1 for 11 with 6 seconds. I'd argue he's never been in win form.
Yeah, that's a great point. We move to Tawny Port, another one who's not in real win form right now. He hasn't won in a couple of years. He's been consistent with some runner-up efforts and some minor awards recently.
Yeah, he belongs here, I think, for Miguel Clement, who's had a great year. But winning the race does seem extreme. It's been well over a year. You got to look past the 2024 PPs to see his last victory.
And the last 2 are big long shots at 30-1. You've got Hill Road, who was 3rd, and now he's going to have to step up and face older in here.
Yeah, Hill Road's been disappointing. He finishes better on the dirt, as it turns out. He had that big run in the juvenile last year, but he's very much up against it.
And then rounding things out with the number 14 here, Scott, Ethical Diamond. Any thoughts on this one, who's won 2 straight?
Has faced big fields, decent fields. I'd be lying if I said I knew a lot, but this is a big test.
From way out wide. So a huge field in the Breeders' Cup turf and some real classy horses on top. Scott, you're going to go with one of them, Mini Hawk. I'll throw in the price of Amalok on top of the very logical Mini Hawk and Rebels Red. Don't go anywhere. We still have a couple more Breeders' Cup races to preview.
Think horse racing is too complicated? Think again.
And they're off.
Every pro was a newbie once. Meet DRF Newbie, the mobile tool loaded with daily racing form data and the power of DRF AI.
What a shocker.
Get the insights you need fast so you can play smarter and feel more confident. DRF Newbie, horse racing made simple. Try it free today. Visit newbie.drf.com.
Okay, we took care of a couple of the really big races on Breeders' Cup Saturday, in the Classic, in the Distaff, in the Turf. Now we get to talk about the 2 sprint races, the Filly and Mare Sprint, and then the Breeders' Cup Sprint. But before we get into previews of those 2, we want to remind you all about DRF Newbie and how you can use DRF Newbie with the QR code right there. What it is, it's a new app that shows you the past performances in a much more visually friendly way, easier to use, lots of graphs, colors, charts. It's not as many it's not like the past performances when you open it up and the writing is really small and it's sort of hard to understand. That can be intimidating for someone who doesn't really know a lot about horse racing. But if you're trying to get into the game and you want to play the races this weekend, check out DRF Newbie at newbie.drf.com or just scan the QR code on your screen right there. Scott, we're going to have some the quick filly and mare sprinters going in race number 4 on Saturday. That's the race we're going to take a look at right now. And in this race, we'll start things out with the number 1, Zetlos. You know what you're going to get from this gal. She's going to drop back. She's going to make one late run. It's kind of interesting that 7 furlongs is a distance she hasn't really been successful at, because when you look at her running style, you would figure she'd be better at a distance like 7 furlongs, but she's actually really good going 6 furlongs with the short burst. Do you think she can get a setup in here?
I think she's seen better days. She's an honest mare, like you said. You kind of know what you're going to get. She won 6 of 9 races last year. She's kind of one of those horses that Steve Asmussen, North America's all-time leading trainer, has just managed perfectly. You know, takes his shots here and there, but also, you know, runs her where she should a lot of the time. I think this is a little above the level she's at right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if she picks up some pieces.
Splendora has won 2 in a row, and she loves Del Mar. She's 3 for 3 over at Del Mar. She gets a little cutback in here. Do you think she fits with this group?
I do. And I mean, I don't have a super strong opinion in here, but I think this is a filly that you don't want to underestimate, maybe because she hasn't kept the best company, or some of when she hasn't won those races. It seems to me like she's doing as well as ever. And we know that she likes it at Del Mar, which I already said can be a little bit unique for the horses. 3 for 3 there. I'd be surprised if she doesn't run well.
Vava is the next one up. Vava is a 5-year-old mare now, and last year, middle of 2024, she might have been the best filly and mare sprinter. She just hasn't gotten back to that level, Scott.
Well, I remember, I mean, I grew up with her in Kentucky. She was there. So that was a couple of years ago. She was steam right away. It's hard to continue to be at the top level of your division year in and year out. I think we've seen her tail off while others have gotten faster.
It could be an incredible weekend for Spendthrift Farms, Scott. They have live horses in the juvenile fillies, and they actually had the favorite for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, Copian, and they decided to run her in the sprint against the boys because Tamara could be a really major player in here as well. So Spendthrift might be able to win the juvenile fillies and the sprint and the filly and mare sprint. They're going to have live contenders in all of those races. What do you think about Tamara?
Well, there you see her just crushing a field, dominating a field, I should say. Not crushing, but she dominated them at 2 to 5. That was off a long layoff. And if you follow horse racing a lot, these are the kinds of horses I try to beat usually at the beginning of their career, because the Dam Beholder was one of the best, distaffers, if you will, of me and Gino's lives pretty much, but at least this century. So this was a highly regarded filly from right away. And you see she's gotten better all along. But that was an eye-popping effort, off a layoff. It feels like this has been the plan all along. I think she's very dangerous.
The talent has always been there. It was just like some physical issues over the last couple of years that kept her away from a while. And if they've got all those things figured out and she's back doing as well as she looked in that race, she's going to be really, really tough in here. And I think that might be why they split up Tamara and Kopi, and they just feel really confident about the chances that she's going to run a big race in here. Faye Blanche, the 5, Scott, looks like one of the bigger prices coming in from Japan. What do you do with this one?
I'll say this, underestimate the Japanese horses at big prices at your own, peril. I don't follow Japanese racing as well. They came in a few years ago and dominated at big prices. They weren't that successful at other years. Last year, I think, had very little success. We'll see, but here for a reason. One of the better horses they have there at doing exactly this, kind of middle distances, if you will.
Sweet as Tech is a really cool horse, Scott. She's run 9 times in her career. She's won 7 of them. I mean, she's beaten some top-class horses like Copian. She beat a horse a couple years ago named Dare Manor, going a little longer, who's a very nice horse. And she's really fast. She's just had some physical issues that have kept her off the track, kind of like we were saying about Tamara. But she's brilliant on her best day. There just might be some other early speed in here that could compromise her a little bit.
You don't see horses that, win. She won on the Derby week of May of 2023 in a very live race for Michael McCarthy, who doesn't crank runners at first asking. Always had talent, but took a while to get back to the races. You don't see those horses kind of resurrect their careers all that often, but she has, against lesser of late, she's got a pretty good chance in here. The problem is the public is going to think she's got maybe even a better than pretty good chance. And that last half furlong might be a little bit of an issue.
It's a really good point. And without Copian in here, she's going to just take a lot more money. She's not going to be as fun of a horse to bet on. Haul and Ice is a big price, and she's pretty quick. She may try to keep Sweet Azteca company early in the race. I don't know if she's as fast as her, but she can maybe be a nuisance to her.
Well, I'll tell you this. They spent a lot of money to get her in the race. What is it, 100 grand a supplemental horse for the Breeders' Cup? They were one of those that supplemented this filly. I don't know if they knew what they were going to run into, and maybe they decided in advance that, but they clearly think this filly is doing well. She had things her way in that race in the Princess Rooney, where I thought she was a pretty good play that day because there wasn't a lot of speed. It feels like a lot to ask, but at the very least, you would think she's going to put pressure on the favorite, Sweet Azteca.
Bob Baffert has a very strong hand in this race, Scott. Any of the three Baffert runners winning would not shock me at all. Hope Road is a grade 1 winner, just won the Ballerina last time out. She has speed, but she can sit off the pace. That's what I really liked about her Ballerina win. She sat just off. She moved to the lead. That was the first time Jose Ortiz was jumping aboard her. He just seems like a really good fit for her as well. I don't really have many knocks on her. I think she's right there on the list of top contenders.
It's interesting. We're looking at horses. A lot of times the effective mares, which are the dams in your past performances on the track, don't end up living up to billing. Their progeny. You see Beholder. Now look at Marley's Freedom, the dam of this one. She was a very good really good 7 furlong horse that ended up in the Bob Baffert barn, was in the Bob Hess barn, and now her progeny is doing kind of exactly what she did. It's hard to really knock her. She brings one of the best resumes into the race and should get a good trip right outside the main speeds.
Yeah, that lady you were talking about, Marley's Freedom, she was favored in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, and I think she lost that race by a half length. She ran really well that day too, so we'll see if the daughter can get the job done in the big race. We move to the number 9 here, Scott. This is Rishi, who I think fits very well in this group. If you look at a lot of her races earlier the year, she was facing other Baffert runners who I think were the more highly regarded horses in those situations. Like recently, Cavalieri, Seismic Beauty, Cavalieri. Those are the 3 horses that she was defeated by. Seismic Beauty is going to be favored in the Distaff. Cavalieri was one of the highly regarded Bafferts. And I think sometimes Ricci didn't get the great trip. She was having to get kind of pulled back off the pace, or she was sort of being the horse who would run off and kind of set the pace for horses with the target. I think she's going to be ridden a little differently in this race, sit off the pace a bit with some late punch to the outside. What do you think about Ricci in here?
It's interesting. With Luis Saez taking over, a more aggressive rider than most, you would think he would want to hustle into the race, but the outside draw will give him options, and it is a cutback, so when you're looking at the PPs, these races are run faster. She's going to get a good trip. I wasn't really in love with her before talking to you, but I know you're high on her chances, and I don't have a super strong opinion in the race, so probably defer to you and use her on just about everything.
Praying rounds things out. She's a pretty cool horse right now, Scott. The more I've handicapped this race and talked about this race, I'm really warming up to her more and more. Her last 2 races were very good, and she just seems like she's peaking and moving in the right direction right now.
Yeah, I benefited from her last time out. I think she's better than people are giving her credit. Very encouraging that she didn't regress off such a big move forward 2 starts back. Usually a horse will take a step back, even if they're going to be good in the future. The fact she moved forward off of it, very positive. Don't leave her off your tickets. At 20-1, she could get forgotten. I think she's going to outrun her odds.
We round things out with selections here, Scott. I moved with Ricci on top. You're going to go with Tamara on top. So the 9 Ricci for me, the 4 Tamara for Scott. Don't go anywhere. We'll preview the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and then we'll get your best bets for Saturday. Race number 6 on Saturday, we'll see some of the fastest horses in the world in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. So this one will start out with the filly. Scott, Copian is actually going to be facing the boys in here. This was a big decision that the Connections had to make. She would have been the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Now she'll be in here, and she's a contender, but it's a big field, and she's drawn down towards the inside. She's not the fastest early in these sprint races either, so she'll probably have to come from way out of it, and we haven't seen her at 6 furlongs be competitive.
Has to answer too many questions for me. When you look at this race, she's going to be one of the ones that takes the most money. I think she's taking on a couple of horses that are coming in at least, if not better form. So I'll make her run me down at her price.
Scott, the number 2 Banishing is one of my favorite long shot plays of the weekend. This is a horse who's been in so many big races this year, and a lot of his races have been going longer. But when you look at his races sprinting, his last couple sprints, he beat a horse named Booth, who had won 4 races in a row earlier in the year and was a really good sprinter. Prior to that, he was in the Churchill Downs sprinting. That race was one of the toughest races all year long. It was won by Mindframe. He Banishing dead heats for second with Nisos. They both finished in front of Bookham Dano, who was the top sprinter all year long in the division. I think he's sneaky. The problem he's going to have is he just needs a setup. In sprint races, he's not going to be on the lead or close to it. He's going to be coming from way out of it at 6 furlongs.
He is, and he's going to have to hope some horses that are in pretty good form are stopping in front of him. But I think he's got a big chance to finish kind of underneath, and not to knock your play. He's going to be a good price. We know he can keep this level of competition. We should get a good ground-saving trip. But how far out of it is it going to be? Are these horses going to stop in front of him?
Another horse who will probably be coming from off the pace is Lovesick Blues. He won the Grade 1 Bing Crosby back in July, and he actually prepped on the turf. It wasn't a bad race where he came running late. He just probably wants to sit back and make one late run here.
I think Lovesick Blues could get overlooked in here just because he doesn't have the form, but he's been better on the dirt. That was a legitimately good effort. I know he's been racing on the turf since entering this barn otherwise, but don't discount that effort. It was against lesser, but he might just be in really good form right now.
Another horse in really good form is Patriot Spirit. He's won 2 in a row, but this is a pretty sizable step up from what he's been facing.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if 6 furlongs is a little bit too sharp for him, but he is a cool horse. He has been since the start of his career. Michael Campbell, a very honest trainer, doesn't have a lot of horses. It would be a great story, but it might just end up being a story. It might not happen.
Big City Lights goes in here for Richard Mandela. He's one of 2 for trainer Richard Mandela. We haven't seen Big City Lights race since January, though, and he is a Calbred who's done a lot of his best work against Calbreds. He is a graded stakes winner, though. I just thought it was kind of a strange spot for him off the long layoff to show up here.
Maybe that's the positive, right? You got a pretty aggressive trainer, Richard Mandela, that quote unquote will kind of lets the horses tell him what to do. And the fact that he shows up in this race, I don't know other options that he was looking at or kind of what the goals are with this 6-year-old. How much he still has all of his parts at this point, even though he's just $22,000. But Big City Lights is up against it on paper for sure.
Dr. Venkman comes in here off of the runner-up effort in the sprint at Santa Anita last time out. He was behind Imagination, in front of Straight No Chaser. He's a solid, honest horse. I don't really know if he's quite at this level to win a Breeders' Cup race, but if you told me there was a big price who could pass a lot of horses and finish in the 3rd or 4th spot, I wouldn't talk you off him in something in that range.
I can understand that take, but I've bet him a couple times this year making excuses for him. I just don't think he's as good as he once was.
Scott, I'm going to sing again for you because I watch this with my son all the time. Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. We're hooked on Willy Wonka right now. And I think Imagination is a very, very big player in this race, Scott. He kind of became a player in this division out of nowhere. He was a horse who earlier in his career was going longer, but you could tell they tried to get him into the Derby. He was a horse who didn't want to go much more than a mile. He's on the outside here, and he just goes right by this field like he's not even being asked. It was visually extremely impressive. I remember I sitting next to my dad, like my dad was like, what did this horse just do? Like went right by the field. He's got to be a top contender in here now coming off of that. It's just sort of strange because he doesn't have a whole big body of work sprinting, but this seems like what he's been wanting to do.
Yeah, you can win the sprint without having a big body coming into it. You get the right trip and the right form, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen with Imagination. I'm pretty much tossing out all of his other races. I didn't think he was that good. I think we saw a new horse off the somewhat lengthy layoff last time.
Horse who's been in the Breeders' Cup Sprint a couple times, ran 3rd back in 2023, is Nakatomi. He is one of those horses who doesn't have any early speed. He's going to sit back. He hopes they go quick early, and he will come running. I just don't know if he's as classy as some of the other closers in here. I like some of the other horses that are going to be running late a little bit better than him.
Yeah, he's a cut below the top ones in here, if not 2 cuts. He wins races that are cut belows. Honest horse, don't want to knock him, but not with betting him.
Horse who I've seen a bunch in the mornings this week, Scott, walking around with Forever Young, the Breeders' Cup Classic contender, is American Stage. I don't know if he's good enough to win this race, but I will say if you're looking for big prices to just throw in your tries and supers, he looks really, really good in the morning, and I would not be shocked if he outran his odds. I can't put him in the win end. I can't really have him in the top few. What do you do with this guy?
He's going to be forgotten at the windows. He's going to be a bigger price than his chances to win the race. That said, he's up against it.
Yeah, we moved to Ben Tornado, the runner-up from last year. He is in very good form right now, Scott. He comes off of a big win, and he seems like one of the top contenders. He might go favorite in this race.
I love Imagination here. I really like Ben Tornado just as much. His last race off the bench was awesome. He's just going to be a shorter price than Imagination, but I'd be shocked if he doesn't run well.
Mulligan's a grade 1 winner. He was third in the Breeders' Cup Sprint last year when he was actually favored in there. Hasn't really taken a step forward all that much this year. He did run into some nice horses like Bookham Dano 3 times in a row, Mindframe, Locked. I mean, you look at who beat him. Those are some good runners.
Bookham Dano would have been definitely favored in here, so I don't want to knock him for that, but I don't think he's got it in him to win this race.
We get the straight no chaser. Last year's winner, he was third in his prep race coming into the race. Do you think he's got a shot in here?
I don't think he's the same horse as when he won this race last year when he was dynamite.
And I think this year's race is a little bit tougher. It's a little bit deeper. We have a long shot like Madhouse, who is very fast. He gets the acid test here. He's a Canterbury horse. Is he this good?
He broke my heart in the Gallant Bob. Cost me a big pick 5. I hope not. No, I'm just kidding. He could.
Watch it talking about rounds things out. He comes off a 3rd place finish in the Phoenix. He's probably in here to maybe help the other Wesley Ward trainee, Nakatomi, get some pace to run at. I don't know if he's quite this good.
Agree.
So that does it for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Scott, we move to your selections there. You go Imagination. I go Banishing. All of you don't go anywhere because we're going to talk best bets in the final segment next.
Think horse racing is too complicated? Think again.
And they're off.
Every pro was a newbie once. Meet DRF Newbie, the mobile tool loaded with daily racing form data and the power of DRF AI.
What a shocker!
Get the insights you need fast so you can play smarter and feel more confident. DRF Newbie, horse racing made simple. Try it free today. Visit newbie.drf.com.
For our final segment, we're going to give you some of our best opinions on Saturday. But before we do, we want to remind you about some of the great products that Daily Racing Form has for this weekend leading into the Breeders' Cup. You have a free Breeders' Cup betting guide with picks, contender profiles, betting tips. Just scan the QR code on your screen right there. And don't forget about DRF Newbie. You can see that one on the bottom of your screen. You can scan that QR code. That's for some of your friends who aren't the most hardcore horse racing fans who might want a little bit of help figuring things out this weekend playing the Breeders' Cup. Scott, let's see if we can lead the folks in the right direction a few times. We each gave out 3 of our best bets on Saturday. Let's start with you. Give me one of your stronger opinions on the day.
Yeah, I'm going to be living and dying with Imagination. Yes, if Ben Tornado beats him, they finish 10-7, I'll be okay. But this is a horse coming into the race well. I think he'll probably be the 3rd choice. I think has as good a chance as anyone. Should get a very good trip for a barn that is no stranger to winning races. Hopefully we get 6-1 on Imagination, but I'm expecting more in the 4-1, 9-2, 5-1 range, Gino.
For my best bet, one of them is going to go in race number 4. I'm going to look at Ricci in the Filly and Mare Sprint. She's drawn to the outside. I'd love to see her sitting like 3rd or in the race, but not too far out of it and then able to finish. This is a horse who, before coming to the U.S., had won races from 6.5 furlongs all the way to 1.25 miles. She's really, really talented. I think she just needs the trip, and hopefully she can sit off from the outside. So Ricci, if she's anything above 4-1, that's fair value for me. I'll make a win wager on her in that one. Scott, let's move to your second best bet on Saturday's card. You're going to go to the big race, the Classic, and you're going to look for some value with Antiquarian.
Yeah, this race I thought was a tier Sovereignty, and then a lot of horses in that second tier. With the scratch of Sovereignty, I went from being a chalker to being on a horse that a lot of people said, really? But I think Antiquarian fits a lot better with the rest of these horses than people might be giving him credit for. I hope the tote board shows that. He's one of the few in here that I kind of almost know is coming into the race in his best form. We know 1.25 miles is good for him. He won a race with a rabbit in it already, which can kind of be a little bit tricky. And I think he's going to be double-digit odds on the tote board. So Antiquarian for me has all of a sudden become one of my biggest plays on the card.
Banishing is going to be the horse that I go to next for my best play. That's going to be in race number 6. And this is a big price, probably my favorite big price play of the weekend, a horse that I think is going to be double-digit odds. Feel like you know that Banishing shows up every time. He's going to come running late. He needs a little bit of a setup to probably win the race, but I feel like he's going to be passing half the field. He's going to be moving late. Hopefully they go quick enough to set it up for Banishing, who will be double-digit odds in my best long shot play of the weekend. One more for each one of us. Scott, let's go to your final play on Breeders' Cup Saturday. Talk to us about this one.
Yeah, the Breeders' Cup Distaff. I don't think there's a separation in the field like I expect the betting to be. And I expect the betting to be highly on Seismic Beauty, who's run the fastest races for a barn and connections that take a lot of money. But I think that makes me want to move to this race and find another way to go because I think there'll be value from there. I don't know if Nitrogen's going to be great value, but I think she's coming into the race set for her best. I talked about it earlier. You don't see horses be that successful over the turf and the dirt, winning graded stakes in both in the same campaign. And she's gotten faster. I think she's got to move forward. You see she lost to Jin Jin last time. Jin Jin was on a good rail. She was on the outside where you wanted to be on the inside. I think Nitrogen is going to run a big race here along the inside with a prominent trip under Jose.
You and I are both taking shots against the favorite with horses that are going to be in that next tier. You like Nitrogen. I like Darth Vader a little bit. I respect Nitrogen. They're probably going to be in that same 4 to 5-ish to 1 range or so. And if you don't like the favorite, I think those are the very logical alternatives in Nitrogen, who Scott has, and in Darth Vader in the Distaff. We move to my final best bet of the day, and this one is going to be in the Classic Forever Young. And I am curious now what the price is going to be. That's the problem if you were someone who was going to play against Sovereignty, or not even against, but maybe just pick another horse on the win end. Your price is going to be much, much shorter now without Sovereignty. A horse like Forever Young may have been 5 or 6 to 1. Instead, he's going to be probably between 3 and 4 to 1. And the way a lot of people are talking about him, I wouldn't be shocked if he and Fierceness maybe vie for favoritism, because it seems like a lot of support coming in for Forever Young. But Scott, in the Classic, you go with Antiquarian. I completely like your approach that you feel like there's so many horses that are going to be competitive. Let's go with one that will be one of the bigger, longer prices. So Scott will go with Antiquarian there. I'll go with Forever Young. But honestly, when it comes to the Classic, I would not talk people off of using 5 or 6 horses in there. If you feel strongly about any one of them, stand your ground. And as we finish things up, Forever Young was one of those horses, Scott, on my list of like 3 to 5 that looked fantastic in the mornings. Nothing surprising there. He's one of the classier horses in the world, but dang, he does exude class. And I'm excited, Scott. Breeders' Cup Friday and Saturday coming up, man. Saturday, we've got all these races previewed for you. Good luck, buddy. Good luck to all of you out there, and we'll see you again next week on the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview.